That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks, to a Find Any Way to Win Wednesday edition of the Always Irish Radio Show. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Good morning. Extra credit to everybody who's here when it's hard. I mean that, you guys. Extra credit to everybody that's here when it's hard. Like, I love you guys. That's what this is about, is when things are rough, we make it through it together. Yes, we're mad. Yes, we're going to complain. Yes, we're going to be upset. Yes, we're going to ask tough questions. But in the end, we're all going to be here because we love Notre Dame. It's who we are. It's like, I can't tell you guys how many people have said to me, John, when has Notre Dame ever repaid you for all of your blood, sweat, tears, and now work? When have they ever repaid you for all of this that you focus your life around them for? It isn't about that. It's who I am. So credit to everybody for being here when it's hard, not just when we're front runners and when things are good. The people who stick around when it's rough are going to feel the most rewarded when it all comes full circle. And if it doesn't come full circle, then I just stress out my whole life and then I'm dead and we all move on and John's dead. Nobody cares. So thank you for being here, folks. Things are not ideal. So let's get into this. First off, YouTube, you already know where it is. Please hit subscribe. That helps very much. Give the video a thumbs up. Helps in the algorithm. Notifications on. You be alerted every time Always Irish goes live or something dumb happens or something good happens. I would love to do an impromptu live show because great Notre Dame news hits. I'm open to that. It just never seems to come. Twitter, search bar Always Irish, rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me. You can give me 312-900-8815. We got a couple phone calls on the line here. We're going to get to that. Everybody in the chat here, thanks. I see Jerry Wilson, Michael, Mikey Poles. We are not Marshall. Obviously, if we were Marshall, we'd have a win. So obviously we're not Marshall. I saw a prediction score for this week. It said, Wade has 13-6. That sounds about right. I'm not going to lie. Like, I swear I saw the over-under was 43.5. I mean, I know whatever I bet, something the other way it's going to go because that's just how it is for me. But man, that under looks good. If it's 43.5, Notre Dame has offensive struggles. The strength of Cal's program is defense, and they have offensive struggles. This could be ugly. Could be a defensive play makes the day. Score a touchdown, flip the short field because you don't have you can't drive the whole field. Pick six, something. And you want to talk about pick six? We know all about it. So anything's possible this week, folks. 7-3, no TDs. I mean, hey. Folks, let's just be honest here. Things are not great. Things are not great. Before we get into this and get into the phone calls, there's a couple things that I want to say. And coming out later today and tomorrow, the official full Cal pregame shows. There's also going to be a couple other shows about specific stuff that has come into play now that wouldn't have before if you beat Marshall. Some tough questions that have to be asked. So stay tuned for that. Michael says the punter is excellent. I'm actually really glad you brought that up. I'm incredibly glad you brought that up. Here's what we're going to do, folks. The last handful of days have been very, very tough for all of us. I mean, I went live after the game and it was ugly. And then Monday was even uglier just because of the Buckner news. I sat here last night putting together some notes for today for what I wanted to record and for this radio program. Here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to congratulate John Sott, punter. Fantastic so far. Exceeded my expectations. Doing a great job pinning the other team back. John Sott, great job so far. Tariq Bracy, stepping up and playing the best football in his Notre Dame career. Good job. Michael Mayer, the professional, and it shows. He's a professional player, and it shows. He plays like a professional. He's reliable every day. You know what you're going to get. Credit to him. And then up front, I'm going to give Howard Cross as well. Howard Cross has been making some plays and flashing more than I thought he would and more than the other big name brand names on that line. Okay. And so I wanted to make sure, while there isn't a lot to like right now and there's not a lot of good going on, I wanted to make sure I did mention the guys that I do think are playing well. There's just not a lot of them, and there ain't enough of them. All right. Not a lot, not enough. And that's kind of a tough dynamic. Accountability. I saw Tommy Reese yesterday. I saw it on Twitter. He did the interview in that weird room with the sunshine half in his eyes. It's just nothing's going right, folks. Nothing's going right. So Reese does the interview, and he talks about accountability. And Reese said, blame me. I'm taking all the blame for this. Put it on me. Like, I'm the architect of this, put it on me. And so then that hit the internet, hit Twitter. And then it's like, this is great. This is exactly what you want to hear and see, is that accountability and the coaches, taking that on themselves, deflecting, protecting their players a little bit, putting it on them, all that stuff. So people like when their coaching staff is talking about accountability and it falls on me and all that. Great, great, great. I love that. What else was he going to do? Get up there and say all my players are bad and they're not executing? So it's a default setting for these coaches most of the time, unless it's Brian Kelly, to put it on them and not the players. But here's my question, though. And this is partially philosophical, partially totally practical. What does accountability practically translate to? What is, like, it's easy to say, oh, we all got to be accountable. Well, what does that mean, though? What does that look like? What is that accountability process? Like, that's what I want to know. Accountability doesn't mean I go home and I look at the tape of what we did bad, and then we go in there Saturday and try and do the same thing again and then be mad again that it doesn't work. Like, that's not accountability. That's not adjusting, not having answers. So that's what I really need to know, folks. I love the accountability angle, but what does it mean? It's a great soundbite. It's a coachy soundbite. That's what everybody wants to hear their coach say. What does it look like? What does accountability mean this week for Notre Dame? It's a big deal, folks. We're sitting here with no wins. We have no wins. So, I see it on Twitter. Everybody, I love, responding to this post of Tommy saying that, oh, I love it. Look at him taking ownership. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But I want to know what that looks like. What does that look like? In the other, here's where this also leads me, that frustrates me. And I don't have a good answer of this. It's like, I hear questions about, why is almost 6'5" Merriweather not running a fly pattern jump ball to try and flip the game and win it against Marshall? But 5'10" Braden Lindsey, who's caught 2 of the 10 passes thrown his direction this year, is the one going down the field and for a jump ball instead of the 6'5" guy. So you ask a question like that. And then Reese said yesterday, it's consistency, and we need, I need to know that you're going to know everything you have to do when you're out there. And I got to see that reliability and consistency before, we trust you to go out there like that. Folks, Notre Dame doesn't have that luxury. Reese is speaking about the wide receiver room as if they're 7 or 8 deep with good established guys, and people are asking why another guy can't get a few snaps. Notre Dame's not in that position. You have a 3, maybe a 4-man wide receiver rotation. And you can't tell me, you can't throw a couple balls to a 6'4", 5 receiver just because he's young. I just hate it. And it's like, well, he's not going to be able to run the full route thing and his blocking isn't perfect. You need to try and find playmakers and find a win. You cannot look at this like it's Alabama or Ohio State in the wide receiver room and judge it the way you would if you had an actually stocked college wide receiver room. You're not in that position. And Notre Dame's coaches are talking like they are. And we have the luxury to ease guys in a year. You don't. You can't move the ball and you can't win a game. Throw the ball to a 6'5" receiver. Maybe you'll catch it, maybe you won't, but at least I'll see you're trying something different. I know I'm not a coach. I know I'm not. This is not an X's and O's show. That's not what this show's about. This show's about the emotions of being a college football and a Notre Dame fan. It ain't about X's and O's. I'm interested in that, but it bores me after a while. I think it's a lot more interesting to talk about how this all makes us feel. But this is just rough, man. This is just rough. Merriweather probably doesn't know the playbook. I get that. But my point is, throw him in the huddle when nobody's looking and just tell him to run down the field and throw it. You might be pleasantly surprised. You may find a playmaker you didn't even know you had when you need one the most. No one's telling me it's going to ruin the game against Cal if you throw the ball to Merriweather 2 or 3 times. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. You need help there. You have a really big athletic body and you're not even going to try. That it just bothers me, man. It just bothers me. I'm sorry. And then it's like, okay, David, they did that with Golden Tate. Yeah. And Golden Tate always found a way to get out of it and get underneath it. Like exactly, Jacob. I hate this because it always turns into John, you don't know how it really is. You're not a coach. You don't understand how this stuff goes. I know that. I just know what I see. And it's just logical to me. You need playmakers. You need help. You give some guys a shot. And then the other thing, folks, with this is, and this has really been bothering me a lot since this season started, the quarterback issue at Notre Dame is a huge one. It's a huge one. And the more you really think about it as a Notre Dame fan, the more I think upset you'll be. It's unbelievable that we never really go into a year ever starting fall camp saying, here's our elite, established, proven quarterback that we know is really, really good, can make all the throws, win the big moments, and we can build everything around that guy. We are so used to not having that guy that I think we're just used to that question every summer of like, what are we going to get from the quarterbacks? Because I just think we're so used to that dynamic at Notre Dame. It's our normal default. You get into the summer and then you hope a guy can develop. And then what about this? What about that? Folks, that's not normal. That's not normal. It's normal for us because we're terrible at quarterback acquisition, retention, and development. But everybody needs to know, like, this isn't normal to never go into a year ever having a really, really good quarterback. That's not normal. It's not normal. And so for this to get where it needs to be and have a chance to look different under Freeman, whenever it is, you got to figure that out. Whether it's Carr and he's really good and you have him a few years and you could build off that, great. Like, fine. But this quarterback thing, man, people need to know. I mean, we're in our Notre Dame circle. And so sometimes it's hard, especially being independent, because you're not linked to all these other teams. Like if you're Michigan and Ohio State, Michigan State, how they're all linked so intimately in the conference. We don't have that. So it's easy to get lost in just your Notre Dame little circle of information and the ecosystem we're used to. It ain't normal to never have a good quarterback you can rely on. It's not. So for Freeman to get, and this is really big picture, but whether it's Carr or somebody else, that would help stabilize this program a lot. And I just think it's going to be really important for Freeman to find a guy like that he can link the program to for a while in a way Kelly never really did. He had flashes. Kaiser was good for a while. And it's like Ian Book, good for what Ian Book was. But when I'm talking about an elite proven quarterback in the summer, I'm not talking about Ian Book. Like, there you go, guys. When I say, the last good quarter, you're going to say Ian Book. Oh, yeah. No. I said elite. I need elite. Like, have a really, really good player is good going into camp. We never do. That's an issue that Notre Dame needs to fix, or you can't really get anywhere. Here's the other one, folks. Think about this. I heard this come up. You got those. People are already talking about that Michigan quarterback battle with the two kids with the Irish names, saying the one that doesn't get the job is going to be mad, was interested in Notre Dame anyways. Come on home, baby, to South Bend after this year. There's a guy that could throw the ball better than anything we have right away, even if it's Michigan's backup currently. Like, not a great position to be in, but that's where we are, folks. That's where we are. Super chats, keep in mind, I do appreciate them. The new rule is, obviously, I take your calls anyways, because that's what the show's for. But if you donate anything for a super chat, I don't care if it's 99 cents or $100. Anything you donate on a super chat, if you also want to call, when you do the super chat, put your area code in there, and then you bump to the top of the list. McNamara and McCarthy, that's it. Like, I knew they were Irish names that I liked. Paul McCartney, whatever, bring him in. Bring in Paul McCartney with the left hand. It's McCarthy, though. I know. I just read that wrong. So yeah, super chats. Anybody, if you throw them in, you go right to the top of the phone lines. Let's get it going. 3:09, time to wine and dine. Let's do it.
What's up, John? It's Ben from the Two Irish Brothers.
How are you doing? Hey, I got a message for you, by the way.
Uh-oh.
My message for you is, I think both you guys, especially your partner, are going to appreciate the beginning of my official Cal preview coming out later today or tomorrow. I think you guys, he especially, will like it. So take a look at it.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Take a look. It's right up Sean's alley, especially. But what do you think here? We got to find a way to win this week. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You just got to find a way to win and stop the bleeding. Where are you at with all this?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. You have to find a way to win. Simple as that. I don't care if it's by 1 point. I don't care if it's by 200 points. It's find a way to win. And I want to see the leadership from Pine. You know, this is his time. He sat on the bench. He's been passed up. Let's go. Let's get it going. Him and Tyree. Let's get it going.
Yep. It's you. I was thinking about this when I was putting together the Cal preview, and my first bullet point was, you're bleeding out in the street, and you need to stop bleeding out in the street. This is not the time for what does it look like style points. Let's get other guys work. Like, we are not in that position. Now, we could discuss why, but for now, this is about leadership. Who is going to step up and go, this has gone far enough. We're at home again. It ain't happening, and we're winning. This is a big week for leadership. We're going to learn a lot, man.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think, like you said, leadership. I think it starts with him. I think it starts with Tyree. I think it starts with Michael Mayer. And we go from there. And I think the big thing is we have to get Tyree going. Have to.
I do not.
This week.
Dude, I don't understand. But why? I don't get it. You already know you have an offense that has trouble moving the ball. You already knew passing was going to be hard. Now you're learning your offensive line isn't as great as you thought early in the year. What is the reason he is not been focused more in the running game and the passing game just to get your twitch fast athlete the ball as much as possible? Why has he not been focused on more as a key playmaker? Why? Tell me why. Why?
Yeah.
Why? But why? He's like one of your only guys. You have trouble moving the ball. Get it to him anywhere and then let him do something. Why? Why?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, John.
I don't
it's
get
$1
it.
million question.
Let me ask you this.
You look at
Let me ask you this. Who's our lead running back? They don't know what they want to do there either. Who's doing what and when? Who's the lead guy? It doesn't look like it's Diggs. It doesn't look like it's Estimate, and it doesn't look like it's Tyree. Like, I'm confused by all this, man. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense.
Yeah, nothing makes sense at the moment, and that's the biggest thing. It's the accountability, like Reese said. But the accountability starts with getting your playmakers the ball. And when you come into the third game of the season, and Tyree has only had 12 touches running wise, and you look at the number one back in the country currently, who resides in our home state, yours and I's, at University of Illinois, with 75 touches and almost 500 yards through 3 games. I mean, maybe not that extreme, because that seems like a one-dimensional offense to me, but maybe half that. And we're not even at half.
Yeah.
12 touches.
And then the other thing is, here's the deal, man. Ohio State, everybody kind of understood the dynamic there. Okay. Like, I'm not going to say it's okay to lose that game, but we understood what we were up against in the dynamic. That makes sense. All right. But you have to change a lot now offensively, I think, because what you were doing is not working at all. You cannot line up and run what you've been trying to do because they just can't execute it for whatever reason. Do you think we're actually going to visually see that this offense looks different this week? Or is it going to look very much the same? I'm afraid that it might, because they fear that they can't do anything else. But they're also not good at what they're trying to force. This is a really bad situation. Are we going to see a lot different on offense, do you think? Are we going to notice differences and go, there you go, at least they're trying something this time?
I hope we do. I can't speak for Reese and say that we will, but I hope we do, because the offense has changed a little bit now that we don't have Buckner. Now it's Pine's offense, and he brings a different dynamic to the offense. And we've heard from a couple of his linemen this week, saying we're excited for him, we're excited to block for him. Okay, let's show it. If that's the case, let's get Pine going, and let's make some holes for Tyree, and let's sling it. I mean, because we know what we have in Cal, because we saw this quarterback last year at Purdue.
Yeah.
This is best case. That's the best case scenario for you being 0-2. You know exactly what you're getting with this quarterback that's going against you. Okay, let's set it up.
Yep. And then the other thing I've been thinking about now too is there's blood in the water. There's Notre Dame blood in the water, and Notre Dame's very easy to prepare for offensively, especially now. They were already limited, and now that tape is out, what Ohio State was able to do. And then more alarmingly, what a seemingly lower level, talent level team like Marshall was able to do. That tape is out, and Notre Dame's going to be easy to defend. And that's where I say you need to adjust off adjustments being made to you. And that's where I think we're all looking at Tommy like, dude, if you're this genius, that's what you're here for. Make a pivot off where we're at if it isn't working. Like, that's your main job. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, and I think on the flip side, I think the defense has to get it going a little bit. I mean,
they can't stop the run, man.
Too much in our preview.
You can't allow 200 and something yards to Marshall. They can't stop the run up the middle. That's an issue.
No. And it's
or on the edge, on the edge. They got killed outside wide in the perimeter all day too. So when you're not good in the middle up front, you're not good on the edges. It doesn't leave many areas to be good at.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you go from everybody saying, okay, Notre Dame looks like they have an elite defense, with, holding that powerful offense of Ohio State to 21 points to, well, maybe it was just the night with Ohio State, because we're not seeing what we need to see.
Well,
and they're right, because we have no turnovers on the defensive side of the ball.
That's the next thing. That's the next thing I was going to say.
I said it in my preview, and I won't take too much away from my preview, but I said it in our preview. Us, Ohio State, and Alabama are the three big name teams that don't have any turnovers on the defensive side of thing coming into week 3. Now, the difference is Alabama and Ohio State are undefeated in the top 10.
And the difference is they score points. So you can do that and not lose,
Little minor detail.
Yeah, little minor detail, that whole fact. Man, this is just a really bad spot. Here's a question for you. Have you expected more out of the defensive line production wise? I'm disappointed. Not only just like stuffing the run, but I really expected more havoc plays, tackle for loss, strip sack, like guys coming from everywhere. We're not seeing it. And that's a big part of why Notre Dame's struggling right now, is even the parts of the team we thought were going to be the best we could rely on are struggling. And all the other areas we knew were going to be a struggle are a struggle. That's why it's all piled up on us. Is it Al Washington? Is it execution? Do they not understand where they're supposed to be? Is it effort? Why are we not getting production out of that D-line like we thought, especially the front?
Yeah, that's another great question. I mean, I don't know. And like you said, I think the focus on our defense shifted because you lose Kyle Hamilton. You start going, okay, well, our secondary is not the most elite that we've ever had, but our defensive line, we should dominate there. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's, the changing in DCs. Maybe it's, I don't know. I expected a little bit of growing pains in this season, but not like this. Not like this.
Let me ask you this. And I don't like going here. I don't like going here at all, because it's counterintuitive to one of the main reasons that I believe in Marcus Freeman and like Marcus Freeman and wanted him to get this job. But let me ask this. People are starting to ask. I've even seen former Notre Dame players ask, what the hell's up with these players all pushing for Freeman, telling Swarbrick it has to be Freeman. He's our guy. We love him. We believe in him. And then this is the performance you're getting. How can that be that you're playing this bad at home against Marshall when for your guy? What do you make of that dynamic? Does that concern you? Too much players, coachy? Like, is that an issue? I don't know if it is or isn't, but when you don't have any wins and you lose to Marshall, it's all fair to ask. What do you make of that player Freeman dynamic right now?
I think coming into the hire, I think it was a respect factor. And I think Freeman was the breath of fresh air, if you will, because Brian Kelly, before he left, he had his ups and downs with the players, and he changed a little bit towards the end. But you could tell that the dynamic that he had with the players wasn't always the best. And I think Freeman, being a little bit younger and being a guy that played for a big name program like Notre Dame, I think he can connect with those guys differently than someone like Brian Kelly. And I think that's what the players like. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. But I think right now there's a lot of overreaction because of what's going on. I mean, this is a new coach, a literally new head coach. This is his first gig. I mean, I don't think we expected him to be 0-3 at this point, but also there's going to be growing pains. Yeah.
And the other issue I've been struggling with, man, is, and this is really touchy and people don't like it, and it sounds like excuse making. I'm struggling to have the discussion with folks of how much of this is Reese and Freeman and Al Golden's fault in the moment for not preparing appropriately for the year, or preparing how they thought was appropriate, but then learning they were dead wrong in who they thought their team was going to be, which is a big issue too. Like, if Reese spent all summer and put together this offense and you can't run it at all, and I mean at all, then you're not evaluating things right, pal. Like what he wanted this offense to look like, they're not capable of being. So there was a big miscalculation in what they were capable of being right away. It's a bad spot. This is not great. I don't know, man. You just got to find a way to get a win. You have to stop the bleeding.
Yep. I agree.
It's tough. So we'll see what happens this week. I'm going to the game, and I put that short out last night. I said I anticipate the tailgating. It's going to feel like you're tailgating before you go to grandma's funeral. The vibe's going to be that's honestly how it's going to be like you want to have fun and you're tailgating with your people. It's supposed to be good weather, warm, that's what it is. Like you're going to be tailgating and then realize you're going to mom's funeral when you're done.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you have a good week, man. Thanks for calling. Two Irish brothers, and I'll check out the preview. Check out mine. I think Sean's really going to like it.
Great.
Have a good one, man. Thanks for the call. See ya. Oh, man. V1 rotate V2 $9.99 super chat. I appreciate that. Like I said before, every time somebody donates money to the super chat, it goes right into the phone system, folks. Pay for the line and then pay to take the calls. The funeral joke was lame. Well, I don't care what you think. It's my show and I thought it was funny. So I don't care if you don't think it is. What? The funeral joke was lame. What else am I supposed to say? What else am I supposed to say? I can't wait to go sit there at Notre Dame and tailgate for this competitive elite playoff contending team trying to find a way to win against Cal. Sorry, you're not going to get that out of me. So, Jimmy, my jokes are lame. That's just the way it's going to be. Deal with it. $9.99 super chat. Appreciate it. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how good or bad the coaches. The players are there and you roster at any time to beat teams like Marshall. Something's fundamentally broken. But wait a second. How can this be? You're saying it doesn't really matter how good or bad the coaches are. The players have the talent enough to beat teams like Marshall at any time. But doesn't the fact that we know they have the talent to beat Marshall at any time, but they didn't do it, doesn't that directly circle back to being the coach's fault? I don't understand this. Obviously, Notre Dame has the talent to beat Marshall 100 days out of 100 days, 100 games out of 100 games. The fact that they didn't circles right back to coaching. I think that it goes right back to that. They got out-schemed, out-coached, out-adjusted, out-prepared for, and outworked by Marshall's staff. Marshall's staff did such a great job. They did a phenomenal job. They beat Notre Dame staff every way you could. Every way they could. They had it figured out. Not only did they have a plan, but Marshall executed it beautifully. Offensively and defensively, especially offensively. They had that thing running, and it was very, very impressive. Depressing for me, but impressive. So I appreciate the super chat, but if you're telling me there's enough talent to beat Marshall and you don't, then it is a coaching thing. Somewhere something's wrong. Are you saying it's motivation on the players? Pigskin Pete, welcome in. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming in. Watching the game from a casket is golden. Pigskin, I'm stressed out, my friend. My hairline is receding faster than the water levels in Lake Mead. Anyways, let's get back to the phones. 443, you're talking to me.
John, can you hear me?
I can. Good morning. What's going on?
Good morning. So I want to mention something briefly on Monday, but I didn't get a chance to. I wanted to mention briefly on Monday that I was debating whether or not to mute the broadcast because the commentators sounded like they were Marshall guys and not Notre Dame guys. Like if you
Listen, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I don't the NBC broadcast doesn't do much for me, and it never really has. But I think now that booth lacks gravitas. At least when you had Tirico's a name. Like Tirico's a voice. When you hear Tirico, you think somebody important's here on this game. Like Mike Tirico has that presence. And Garrett's voice is annoying, and Collinsworth might be good, but he's very young. And the thing Collinsworth's fighting is the notion it's like Golick, where did you get the job because of who your dad is? And so he has to fight that a little bit too. But this booth really lacks gravitas. And if NBC really wanted to make Notre Dame a huge priority, I wanted a bigger name than that, because this booth does nothing for me personally. It does nothing for me. And when things are going bad and we're losing, I definitely aren't going to listen to it. So it's a little rough. But overall, though, the TV booth is the least of my worries on my complaint list this week. They're on it, but they're very low.
Absolutely. And I'll get to some bigger sort of issues. However, I will remind everyone, and I think this reminder needs to be said to everyone, that it's always darkest just before dawn. And this Marshall game is probably going to be the start of the sort of highlights video of the 30 for 30 for our next national championship.
Yep, I've heard that. I've heard other people say that if you really believe in Freeman and the way he comports himself and the way that his personality is, and you believe in his mission, remember this weekend. And it'll be the start of a 30 for 30 if it all comes back around, and they're going to say, remember how this all started. And that's also why I'm saying, Notre Dame fans, if you can't sit around for this and it's too much, go ahead and leave. That's fine, but just don't come back in my circle when he gets it figured out. Because I want I want the people who are going to be here through good or bad with. We all ride and die with it, happy or sad. We're all doing it together.
Trust me, John, I am an Orioles fan, so I am used to losing a lot. A whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, that's I don't. Yeah, you gotta.
I can't abandon a team.
You gotta pull Earl Weaver. You gotta pull Earl Weaver from the grave and put him in the dugout. Get it straightened out. Get old Earl out there yelling.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I wanted to give a little bit of hope to everybody in the comments saying doom and gloom stuff about, we've got a whole lot of issues. I'm not denying there are issues right now. Guess what? CJ Carr is on his way. Harry's offensive line recruits, they're on the way. We've got a receiver room that I don't even know how many receivers there are in this room that are on scholarship. We've got more receivers on the way. We've got people, we've got talent that is going to be coming in to South Bend in the next couple of years. So we have to sort of give at least Freeman the time to bring those players in and develop them. I'm not fully sold that Tommy Rees is the guy at offensive coordinator, but I think Freeman needs some time. And I'm giving Harry and the receiver coach a pass because of how depleted their rooms are.
Yep, and that is fair. And I said that going into the year, that of all the position groups on this team and the position coaches, Chancey Stuckey has the hardest job by far, because I felt that he was dealing with a group with the least amount of talent and material to work with that was proven. So Chancey Stuckey in that wide receiver room has a tough task this year. In 2 to 3 years, the wide receiver room is going to go from a weakness to a strength. The issue is that does not help you now when you cannot win a game and cannot throw the ball. So there are definitely, it's coming.
I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, we're stuck in the middle.
Understand.
We're stuck in the middle because, all that stuff's coming and it is going to get better, but that doesn't help you now. And you need to find a way to win games now. So that's where you're kind of in the middle here. So what's your game plan against Cal? How are you going to open up the offense? Now you got your backup quarterback. What's the plan? How do you open it up and score some points at home in the sunshine this week?
Here?
How do you do it? Put some points up. Put some points up for me. Build me that playbook.
All right. Okay. So, of course, when you're bringing a backup quarterback in, you kind of have to simplify the playbook a little bit, which is sort of ironic considering everybody can read Notre Dame's playbook like a book against Marshall, which it's a really difficult task, I think. But if we can get the blocking sealed up and we can get the offensive line working as a unit instead of talented parts that aren't exactly working together, we can probably get Chris some touches to the outside. We got to remember, Chris is built like Kyron Williams. He goes, his best option of running is toward the outside, whereas if we're not getting any blocking up front, you're going to have to get a really big guy at running back and have him fight for every extra inch he can get, or you have the quarterback go out and do some running. Well, we don't have the luxury of Tyler Buckner for the rest of the year. I don't know if that's your Highness. I really didn't want to have to find that out against Cal, but I think what we have to do is especially get Merriweather a lot of touches, as well as throw the ball to Baby Gronk. I know nobody likes to hear that the tight end's the number one target, but if he's built like Rob Gronkowski, he's going to be the number one target, whether we like it or not.
Yep, it's a good plan. We're gonna have to see if it works. I'm fine with that. It's just I need the offensive line to settle in this week. So we're gonna see how it goes. But I like your plan. Let's see. Thank you for the call, my friend. Call again. Enjoy your week.
Thank you very much, John. I am still going to the Navy game at M&T Bank Stadium.
Awesome.
Go Irish, buddy.
Enjoy that rivalry. It's always special. It's always different, even though I want Notre Dame to stop playing them. I know that sounds weird to say I like that rivalry, but I also want them to stop playing them. Joe Long, Chris Fowler, absolute hater, ND as Herb Douche. Herb Douche is a good nickname. Here's the thing about Fowler, you guys. I got to be very direct and honest about Fowler. His yelly, excited, big play voice is horrible. Horrible. And you're talking to a guy who yells for a living now. Fowler's voice, when he raises it, when there's a big play, horrible. It's bad. I'm sorry. It rubs me the wrong way. And I'm acutely aware of this kind of thing because I'm in YouTube and radio and like your voice matters. Fowler's is annoying. You ain't Gus on Fox. Gus knows how to raise that octave, get it all going. Fowler doesn't. And Fowler gets excited every time something bad happens to Notre Dame. There's no doubt about that. I'm sorry. Fowler has a bad voice. And you know who else? Jason Garrett does not have the voice for the job he has. And I know I was in an extra crappy mood listening to it because of what he was describing. But I'm telling you, Garrett does not, there's something wrong with the voice. It doesn't work for the position he has. You need gravitas there. It doesn't work, it doesn't play, and it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Oh, okay. I starred a couple of these chats I want to get to. I'm going to nail a couple of these that I starred, and then we're going back to the phone lines. 937's up first, then 484 when we come back. So if you're up next, let's see what we got here. All right, this one. I wouldn't want to be an ND wide receiver, would you? Here's the thing about that. No, but that is an issue, folks. Like, I saw the recruits, Braylon James and a lot of these guys, they were talking about, it's going to be better. We're still on board and all that. You love that. I love that. A lot of those 17-year-old Notre Dame recruits are being a lot more mature about this than 37-year-old adults. And guess what, folks? I might include myself in that list. I am not above that, given some of my emotional reaction to what happened last weekend. But a lot of our recruits are displaying a lot more emotional and intelligent maturity levels than the fan base is. So, no, I wouldn't want to be a Notre Dame receiver right now. I wouldn't. That's a part of why you're in this problem. Do you know how much easier it's going to be to recruit elite wide receivers when the players can turn on their TV and see an elite Notre Dame quarterback throwing the ball to people? Has anybody in Notre Dame land ever thought about this? Anybody in Notre Dame land ever think about that? Our lack of elite wide receiver and all that. Did it ever occur to anybody that it might make it easier if some of those players could see the quarterback be good and know that's the guy that's going to throw them the ball and have that comfort to know there's a good player there? These are the way other teams operate when they live in Earth. We're out of bounds. Like, we're imposing hurdles on stuff that don't have to be, that don't exist for anybody else. Have a quarterback people want to play for and know is good. Solves half your problems. Notre Dame can't figure that out. Oh, here we go. Notre Dame had become irrelevant in college football. Maybe they should try and become a basketball school. Here's the thing. Notre Dame, Ohio State pulled like a 10.5 million fan ranking. I say it before, I say it all the time, and I'll say it again. Whether you like or hate a team, if they draw, they're relevant. Doesn't matter if everybody of the 10.5 million was tuning in to see Notre Dame lose. It doesn't matter. That's still under the umbrella of relevance. When people care what happens to you, good or bad, that's relevance. Bad year for the argument of Notre Dame isn't always overrated, by the way. Bad year for John to have that one. So I'm getting beat up on that, saying Notre Dame isn't always overrated. Well, we are this year, folks. We are this year. Jerry Wilson. Jesus Christ. Jerry Wilson. Jerry, you're driving me crazy. Jerry's driving me crazy. Last week, he was in the chat talking about Marshall beating Notre Dame. I told him it was going to give me a stroke, made a YouTube short about it, and then Marshall ends up winning. So I gave Jerry our time for picking that and not believing in Notre Dame against Marshall at home. Now we're 1 week later, and Jerry's in here predicting Notre Dame 42, Cal 24. You're amazing, Jerry. And because you were right last week, I can't doubt you, and I can't write you off or call you crazy. So if Notre Dame scores 42 points in this game, I suspect 35 of them are going to be from defense and special teams. Where the hell's Notre Dame finding 42 points? 42 could be the year's total. Where's Notre Dame finding 42? Unless it's pick sixes or kicks. 42. If Notre Dame scores 42 points, I'll do this shirt the show Monday morning shirtless just to embarrass myself. I'll be on here on the radio with my headphones, no shirt. 42 points. Holy hell, 42. Oh, man, this is rough, folks. It's rough. We're going to go back to the phone lines. Let's see. What do we got in the chats here? One more. John, maybe we become a baseball school. What's up with that? Well, we tried, and then right when we got good, the coach left. Isn't that what happened? It looked like that's what they were trying to do. But now he's down. Where is he? Florida State, right? Wait, ND's overrated? They were this year. What I can't let you do is use the fact that they are this year to say that it applies every year. But it's a rough year for me to have that that argument. What was this? John, please do not do the show shirtless. Trust me, you don't want to see my tan lines either, man. You just don't. You just don't. 937 Notre Dame is not in heaven. Tell me what's going on.
No, you're definitely in purgatory. But I'm a Buckeye fan. But you guys are so tied to us this year and next year. So I wanted to call in. I enjoy the last weeks of shows. Not necessarily just your personality is great, but one thing I wanted to say is with Brian Kelly and leaving the QB room where it is. I will say, Tyler Buckner, he was ranked the number 71st player overall. Drew Pine, he was a 4-star, number 8 pro style quarterback, and then this the Ajelli kid, he's a low 4-star, but so he didn't leave the cupboards bare. I think Notre Dame, they just probably had that whatever their talent rate, people who look at their talent, they just didn't realize that some of these guys maybe weren't a fit for what the type of offense they want to run, or I'm not really sure, but I don't necessarily think he left the cupboard bare. It's just also too, you got to think of the transfer portal and how that's changed the game. Look at Ohio State 2 years ago or 3 years ago in 2019. We had Tate Martell and then a Showing-Off kid. I think I mispronounced his name, but he was from West Virginia, was a low 3-star. So Ryan Day in his first year came in and got Justin Fields to play. So that's I think that's just kind of what has to happen. One thing I'd be worried about, John, for Notre Dame is this is where it gets to be kind of like the nightmare. Well, so this year Ohio State did not play very good in that game, and I think you would say Notre Dame played good. They did, but looking after this week, maybe they're just not as good as we thought. But one thing is next year Ohio State will definitely play a better game. I don't think our quarterback played very good, and I would say he played towards the lower part of the barrel. But if next year Tyler Buckner, he doesn't get all this experience, then he's going to be
in the same spot, damn near in the same spot.
Yeah, you're in the same spot. Yeah, you're in the same spot, and then your receivers are kind of in the same spot. And then you're losing a lot of these defensive players. I just think you're maybe even in a worse position next year. And then let's say Tyler Buckner's not the guy.
Then you have that opens up a whole nother problem, because then you're starting over. Yeah.
Yeah, you're starting over for 3 years in a row, and I just don't know if Freeman's going to get that much time. I mean,
the issue is
for it to come out with the top 5 team.
Yeah, it's tough, and the issue. Go ahead.
Well, my other question is this: so, and this is not necessarily a knock; it's just a thought. So looking at UC, so when Freeman left UC, I mean he was running the UC's coach. His name's left my head, but his team's still doing really great on defense. They're still great. he took over Notre Dame's defense. They were really good 2 years ago. I mean, they made the playoffs. They had pretty good defense. I mean, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's a good coach yet. Even on the defense side of the ball, I think he's okay, but I'm not sold yet.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's totally fair. And there's always risk when you hire a coach without a body of work of experience as the head guy. It being at Notre Dame ramps that up just because of the scrutiny and the magnifying glass. You just hope he can pull out of it. And a lot of the traits that got Marcus Freeman hired are the exact traits he needs to lean on and pull deep now to try and right the ship. And I mean that. His leadership, his personality, his genuineness. You need to find a way to turn those into a way to get this righted. I want to circle back to something you said about the quarterbacks. Like when you talked about Buckner and kind of like the star ratings of Angeli and Pine and Buckner, and also, by the way, to you, I want to thank you. The fact that you're an Ohio State guy and you know this much about Notre Dame's roster and dynamics, I respect that. And it makes my ecosystem healthier to have other people in the mix. So I want to thank you and applaud you for that. But with those quarterbacks, with Buckner, this has been incredibly bad luck. He had an ACL injury, lost a year in high school. Then COVID, lost another year in high school. Then he comes to Notre Dame, and then he's the backup, and he's not playing right away. And then now it's finally his time, and he's out for the year. His development is 3 to 4 years behind where anyone would want it to be, and it really isn't even anybody's fault. That dynamic is so frustrating because he should just be further along than he's been able to be. And then we keep pushing it back. Now it's pushed back another year. And then you're right. That's how you end up starting this all over next year. And then it hurts you. And then if you have all these struggles piling up, it affects recruiting. That's how Freeman gets stuck in the middleness of nowhere. That's my roadmap to fear. And it took an Ohio State guy to tell it to me. Thank you. Thank you.
Real quick, too, with like a Buckner, and he has all these injuries, and those guys very rarely work out this far along.
Now, you know what else people are talking about? There are people saying already, you know what? Tyler Buckner just might be done with Notre Dame. After all of this and he might need a new starter. So a lot of people are already saying, I wouldn't even count on him being around next year. I can't say I've entertained that thought that much, but a lot of Notre Dame people are already saying that. So I don't know, man. They're in a very tough spot.
I would not. If he's the best guy you got. I mean, I hate to say it, Drew Pine looks like a midget out there.
He's small. He's very, very small, man. He is small. He's 5'10" on a good day.
Yeah. I just, I think, unless you can get a transfer, like really this year, I was surprised they didn't try to go after the kid from Georgia, JT Daniels, because Georgia's really goofed up on quarterback analysis. I think I would have tried to go on after him.
Hey, you know what else too?
Even the kid that went to.
You know what else? I've heard, and it was in the chat this morning, Keaton Slovis wanted to come into Notre Dame, and it didn't seem like Notre Dame was that interested. Like, that's the kind of guy that would really help Notre Dame's quarterback room. And he's a guy you could at least throw the ball around. And the other thing you need to understand is the transfer situation is harder at Notre Dame than it is a lot of places. And I know no other fans of other teams want to hear Notre Dame people talk about their hard academics and excuse making. It is very hard to transfer into Notre Dame mid-college career for all the academic reasons and it lining up with your classes. Yeah. That's very, very hard. But that transfer thing is a big part of the game now. And that makes it hard on Notre Dame. Notre Dame, that's hard. You got to be extra perfect in recruiting when you can't just go grab a dozen guys from the portal year to year. So that's a challenge too. It's a part of it.
Like, too, if Pine doesn't get the job after this year, he's gone. Like, there's no reason for him to stay. I mean, I would tell him to leave as a parent of him.
You know what a lot of
unless you
people
just
think,
want the
though?
degree.
A lot of, I was going to say, a lot of people have said, even when he lost the starting job to Buckner in the summer, they were saying, Pine's not going anywhere because he loves Notre Dame. He's a Notre Dame guy here for the degree, all of that. So I think he'll be around. It's just a frustrating dynamic. Like, Notre Dame's not going to find itself on the other side of all these struggles until they find some stability at the most important position in the sport. And that's very frustrating.
Okay, well, that's all I wanted to say, and have a great day.
Thank you very much for the call. I like having fans of other teams here. Please call again. And oh, by the way, are you still with me? Are you still on?
Yes.
Can you do me a favor, please? Don't ever lose to Michigan again. Don't ever lose to Michigan again. Like, I don't like Ohio State, but it ain't Michigan. Like, I'm not a big Ohio State guy, but at least I love that one November Saturday where I could watch you guys ruin their lives. Can you get life back to normal here? Flip that baby back this year. I need it.
Notre Dame helped him out. Gave him McNamara.
Yeah.
It was terrible. He went there.
Yeah, and now Notre Dame wants guys back. But please, just get that part righted for me. I need it. I need you to take care of business and make them miserable again. Can we agree on that, please? I'll be pulling for you.
Yes, for sure.
I look like the buck nut on that day. I'm painting my face. You gotta kill them for me, please.
Yes. We'll try.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you. Call again. I like having an Ohio State guy that tuned in. Kenny, do you have any Always Irish gear? Where can I find it? Actually, I'm glad you're bringing that up. I am in the process, folks. Now that I have some more time because I shifted my professional stuff to be able to do this more, I'm building out a Shopify store with a lot of different stuff in it. College football stuff, Notre Dame stuff, some other stuff. But I'm not releasing it till I got it really far down the road of being set up. So there is a modern new Shopify store being made with my gear and merch and other stuff. Also, YouTube made a deal with Shopify where I'm going to be able to sync Shopify into YouTube. So when you see my stuff going, you'll be able to see underneath it what we have to offer and get it right through there. So no, that is in the works, but it's taken me a little time to get it going. You guys in the chat are freaking me out. What? I have not seen this Zach Smith stuff. What are you guys talking about? I'm assuming Zach Smith, you're referring to the old Ohio State guy who had all those issues and now has that podcast. I didn't see this rumor. I don't know what you're talking about. Somebody put it in the chat. Explain to me. And if it's just some rumor on a back chat room that Zach Smith's going to be somebody, like, I don't know. It was posted on Bucknuts. What about it, though? What about it? What was posted on Bucknuts? What? You're telling me what are they going to do? Fire Reese and bring in Zach Smith? Like, I don't understand what was posted on Bucknuts. And also, a post on Bucknuts is exactly what I'm referring to as a post on the internet in a board somewhere. I don't know what you mean. I don't want Zach Smith's wife's baggage in South Bend. Oh, back to the punter's been the MVP so far. You're not kidding. John Sott's good. He's been banging the ball over those guys' heads, man. Our best offense is John Sott punting. It's beautiful. Oh, man. UGA fan, I appreciate that. 199. I feel for y'all. It's hard out here. Well, it ain't hard out here for you with all that talent you have down there. Yeah, the Zach Smith stuff's new to me. I don't know that. And also, I would be very interested to know if Notre Dame's interested in going down a path with a guy with that kind of history. If you didn't want to go down the Urban Meyer path for some of those reasons, I don't see you doing it with that. Also, just personally, I don't like Zach Smith. He just looks like a cocky little shithead football guy that thought he was a tough guy his whole life, and I don't like his whole vibe. I'm all for trying something new offensively. Does it have to be with the guy who brings a whole bunch of personal baggage and isn't a good guy? That doesn't seem like a good fit for Marcus Freeman either, the way he is and the way he operates. So I don't know about that. Eric, he has 4 tickets for Clemson. Well, what are you trying to do with them? Are you saying you're going with your 4 tickets, or you're trying to sell four tickets? I got a bunch of people coming into town for that game. I need some tickets because we're not going to have enough. Oh boy. 812. We're talking to you.
What up, John? How you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm making it. It's a find a way to win Wednesday. Where are you at with all this midweek here? Halfway between the last problem and what could be the next one. What do you make of this?
Yeah. Well, I was making some notes. So what got Merriweather on the roster that can't seem to get him on the field? What are we missing?
I'm pretty sure when they asked Reese why this guy can't see the field, he was saying it's the consistency in practice and the reliability and making sure that where you're supposed to be, like kind of the whole consistency. You got to know everything before you could go out there type deal. And I totally understand that position from a coach. But I also don't think you're in the position to be able to have that luxury to judge your guys that strictly when you have a 3 or 4 man wide receiver rotation and you're not getting enough production out of it. So I don't like it.
Yes. See, I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and we're in the process of teaching her how to drive. We didn't start by putting her on the interstate in rush hour. We started by letting her move the cars around in the driveway. I don't understand why this kid can't move the cars around in the driveway.
Yeah, I'm adjustments, man. Adjustments. The best coaches adjust. Football games are won adjusting off of adjustments made against what you were doing. I'm not seeing a pivot.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a pivot.
No.
But the issue is, man, this is why my hair falls out. I'm not seeing a pivot. But also I would ask you somewhat rhetorically and to myself, what do you pivot to when you can't run to set up the pass and you can't pass to set up the run? What exactly can you lean on then? We don't do anything. We don't do anything well. There's nothing to build on. There's not even a building block unless it's giving the ball to Mayer on every single play. Every play. Like, I don't know. Where do you even build from here? Where do you start? Where do you start? How do you build an offense this week? What do you do?
Notre Dame's a fencing school.
Well, on guard. Let me pull out my sheath and stab myself. Fencing school.
Yes.
It always cracks me up, man, when you're at a Notre Dame game and we're like losing in the first quarter. There's a 9-minute NBC timeout, and then they go, welcome the national championship fencing team out on the field. And I always get so mad, and I'm going, it's always these other sports. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah. I got distracted. I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
No, this is fantastic. Okay, my question is, if Drew does good,
mm-hmm.
and Angeli does okay, kind of like the Ohio State caller, how do you bring Tyler back? Because if it's an evil if you know what Drew can and can't do, that's an evil versus Lord knows what's going to happen in the offseason next year. Like, at what point in time do you go, okay, this has been a fun experiment, but we've had 2 years of football in 5 years?
Yeah.
In half a decade?
Man, but but this is why nothing's easy for Notre Dame. Like, this is, I said it a couple days ago. This is a stew in which all of the ingredients are bad and they're all mixing in the same pot. Like, here's number one. if Pine ends up being really good or Angeli this year, that is a good thing. So I don't look at that as like, then what do you do? This is a problem. That would be a good thing because right now I have no quarterbacks I can rely on. I don't care the name, but if I had one who showed anything, that would be an improvement. And the other thing is, if somebody's good, you love that. But I just don't see, is the offensive line going to come along good enough in the wide receiver room that any quarterback's going to look decent this year? Like, I don't even know if that's possible for a quarterback other than, like the best player around to be able to make it look good. How do you separate out the quarterback part from all the other parts, I guess is what I'm asking. How much better would Tyler look with 5 great wide receivers out there and an offensive line that block people? His development might be further along. I hate it.
Yeah, at this point, we haven't even seen the entire wide receiver room, which we did. How can you judge the wide receiver room when you haven't seen the whole thing? You have no idea what's going on in there.
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
It's tough, man. I said in the summer when we were talking about our season preview, the number one bullet point I had as far as big picture goals for the program this year, number one was Notre Dame as a program cannot afford to go through another year not knowing exactly what they have in Tyler Buchner. And that's exactly where we're at. It couldn't be. You needed him to develop this year in the year, and then you needed that to set up next year and what you knew you had that you could build off of. That's all out the window. It's a bad deal, man. It's a bad deal.
No, I'll back this up to last year. You brought in the old man to start to develop Tyler last year. This was not supposed to be a development year. That was last year. This year, he was supposed to be the off and running year, and he's not. So at what point in time do you say, we got to quit hurting, we got to quit worrying about people's feelings and just move on?
Now, you bring up another, I remember when Jack Cohn grad transferred in. I remember doing my show and everybody was debating whether that was the smart move because the roster was in a place you thought with an established, proven, decent quarterback, you could compete for the playoff. A lot of people liked that. There was a certain segment of Notre Dame fans that said, I would rather use this year to get Buchner experience, and then that helps us in the future, rather than if you don't win something with Cohn, he's gone. There's no development there. You're starting over. I had a lot of people debating that. And ultimately, I think it comes down to it was Kelly, and Kelly wanted to win as many games as he could, and he knew it was more likely with Cohn. So that's what they did. But I did hear that debate last year, whether it would have been better to have a developmental track year for him. I feel bad for Tyler. He's a good kid, and it's just been nonstop bad luck and bad stuff.
Yeah, I do too. He seems like a try-hard kid, but you need more than try-hard kids.
And you know what else?
You know what else too? To do.
Tyler Buchner, the moment's never too big for him. He's calm, cool, and collected. Like it's just bad luck. Bad luck. Injury.
Very bad luck.
So how do we beat
earlier, when the coach got hired, the comment, and it stuck with me, so I wrote it down, was what the players liked. It's what the players like. Well, what you like, and think about kids, I don't like vegetables, but I like candy. Not what you like is always what you need.
I think
I think we're missing on what the players need.
I think a percentage of the reason Freeman got hired was input from the players and Swarbrick and everybody at Notre Dame knowing how much everybody loves and respects Marcus. How much of a percentage? I don't know. I give Swarbrick a hard time a lot when he deserves it. There's no way Jack Swarbrick got bullied into this and really didn't want to do it and let the players that are only going to be here another couple of years make that big picture, huge Notre Dame decision. So There's no way Swarbrick got bullied by 18-year-olds to do this. But there's no doubt it was a part of it. And the captains gave their input and had those discussions with Jack. But at the same time, then I got to ask, the players wanted him. This is how you're going to do your man? You guys all wanted him, and you're losing to Marshall at home for him. So where's the disconnect? If you love the guy that much, you can't embarrass the whole cut. You can't embarrass everybody at home. Or is it coaching? They do love him, but they're not being put in a position to make the plays. What is it? What is it?
Yes, I agree totally. Oh, and my last thing before I leave, the funeral joke was great.
I thought so too. Some people are telling me it wasn't funny. I loved it. That's exactly what it's going to feel like.
It was fantastic. I'm not going to be at the game. Trying to tailgate for this game would be like a year or two ago. I was off work, had an extended weekend. It was a great time. The only problem, I was doing colonoscopy prep. That's what tailgating should be like.
There you go.
Will be like.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for the call, man. Enjoy your day. Have a good one. Call again.
All right. Talk to you soon.
See ya. Oh, we had a super chat here somewhere. I don't know what. Somebody put on Buck Nuts board that Zach Smith, Notre Dame, what? Like, does he have a connection with Freeman, the Ohio State thing? But I don't get it. What does that mean? Now you're going to fire Tommy Rees now? Like, I don't know. Here we go. Chris, $4.99 super chat. Marcus, reach out to Zach Smith for an analyst role to help get the wide receiver up to speed. I know they're friends. He's a proven coach. There you go. Asked and answered. So, and then you're in a situation where a lot of Notre Dame people are going to say, I don't like Zach Smith and some of the stuff that's involved with him. And then it's going to turn into defaulting to Marcus Freeman's judgment. That's what that would come to. But Chris, thanks for the super chat and the information. 623, you're talking to me.
Hey, John, it's great to connect with you. I am getting some great multitasking in here this morning. So I had a few general notes, and I've been listening to all the callers and chats. So I don't really know where to start other than it's tough. We clearly looked and to me, watching that game, it looked like a 2008, 2019. I remember Syracuse running all over us. And I mean, there's just so many questions around the team and I might have missed some of this. I have a really tough time watching and listening after this kind of heartache and disappointment. I think the mask thing could have had an impact. I mean, I'm out in Arizona, so the game kicked off at 11:30 my time. I mean, you go to Mass, it's all quiet. I know Mass can get in and out sometimes in 15, 25 minutes, but that's kind of the letdown. I don't think the Marshall players were worried about that. They were just worried about there and kicking Notre Dame's ASS. After the game, Freeman talked about evaluating who's playing, and I thought that was great. I think a lot of this is, hey, he kind of had to hand over the team to some of that senior leadership, like our linebackers, and we don't have the new blood quite yet playing. I know someone just mentioned Merriweather. I'm looking for young blood across the board, and this might give us an opportunity. And I think they're going to bring that extra energy that we need. You mentioned your outrage over 42, and I think Pine might bring that energy.
But energy only, energy, okay, but you could bring that energy all you want. But if nobody blocks, then you're dead. And then you have no energy because you're dead. Like, I love the Pine energy. Somebody needs to block.
I haven't seen, I'm not saying Rocco Spindler is going to fix what's across the line, but I think, and get rid of, change up who's playing. And you're 100% right, though. If no one's going to block them, then there's no point of even going out to the field. So
it's tough.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, then you can't win. That's the issue right now, man. We can't run to set up the pass, and we definitely can't pass set up the run. Like, I'm really in that position where I can't even find a building block other than moving the pocket, letting Pine operate kind of, you're going to have to come up with something no one likes as the plan, because I think it's going to be your best way to move the ball and score points this week.
Now, I heard some of Reese's press conference yesterday, and he was asked, hey, all your running backs seem to have particular packages. So, and which to me is a telling sign for any defense. I can't, I'm not an expert of X's and O's to any extent, but if other coaches are, and they know what Notre Dame's doing, I think Marshall's coach could have said, hey, we're going to beat these guys. Their scheme is nothing. We're going to out scheme them. They definitely weren't afraid. So here's the flip thing too. When we need a touchdown, Reese can call up a play, and we have that bomb that, hit Lindsey's hands. He got chipped a little bit coming out before he turned, but it's like, hey, Tommy, stop hiding all of your plays that work. Like we came out against Oklahoma State and scored all these points. It's like, where was this earlier? We need a moving groove offense, and it's going to be tough. Like, I mean, if we can't stop the run, if teams are gouging us for 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, then their team gets pumped up. We get let down, and it's the same 2016 type of cycle. Like,
and you know what else?
Comment. I mean, we could.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no! I was just gonna totally wrap this Zach Smith. Oh my gosh, dude. So I'll watch other teams' podcasts too, and I've watched this podcast. I'm like, who are these guys just ripping Notre Dame? And this guy seems like a clown. And I watched a couple of his videos, couldn't watch anymore. I see on YouTube, rumor has it, rumors about Freeman. And then it was his show. And I'm like, and then you guys are talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Zach Smith? Jeez, no wonder I did not like anything to do with his podcast. This guy's the biggest Notre Dame hater of all time.
Well, apparently he's best friends with Laurinaitis and Marcus from the Ohio State circle. So apparently he's friends with Marcus. So he shouldn't want to hate on him that much. Can I ask you something about one of your earlier points?
Sure.
I think it's a very important question, and I've been struggling with it as well. You brought up them talking about younger guys or looking at the personnel, and then also you said kind of now that some of our big picture goals are kind of ruined for the year with a couple losses already, it's a time to get other guys going in that development. How do you balance that versus you still have to try and win games this year to keep recruiting together? Like, there's no way to tank in college football and be like, forget this year. We're going young, get the learning pains out of the way. We get beat up, but then we're in a better place the next couple of years. You really can't do that in college football, because if you do, then your recruiting is going to tank, because then you're going 3-9. And then, so how do you navigate the balance of trying to win games so it doesn't get embarrassing while giving younger guys a chance and developing for the future, knowing you're not reaching your goals this year? How do you do that dance?
Sure. Well, earlier I said moving grooves, and what I would do that is it's slow and steady. Whenever they take the low-hanging fruit, Merriweather, low-hanging fruit, put them in the darn game. We've got linebackers, 44, the freshman, dominated the spring game. Put them in the game. Mix some of these players in, and then these players, they're dying to get in right now.
Yep.
Prince Ali has kind of been in what I don't want all the number changes. 31? I haven't seen 31 play. Even though he is more of an upperclassman, just slow and steady. And I want to see a heavier load of Chris Tyree by himself. I think over the years he's been able to get stronger on the lower half.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with the younger guys, I would say slow and steady, and let them go out there and just start making plays.
Yep. And man, I get it when these coaches say, all the fans have a hot new name, a freshman name, or somebody they haven't seen yet, and the results aren't good. So fans always want the next thing, like a known that they don't like. They'd rather go with an unknown and not know all of that. I get when coaches say, I'm not comfortable running guys out there till they can do everything or understand all the blocking schemes, all that. You're not in, dude, you don't have the luxury to be picky. I think you may be pleasantly surprised that you accidentally find a playmaker you desperately need. Like, I don't think it's a luxury for you to be sitting there. I don't think that you're good enough at blocking to do. You don't. You got to find guys to make plays. There's no way Merriweather can't get a few balls this week at home. No reason. No reason.
Agreed. Even putting them on the field is going to cause questions for the other team.
There's just no, you can't tell me he can't find a few plays, see if you could throw a big ball to him and get it going. Man, it's frustrating. So what do you think happens this week? Does Notre Dame find a way to scrape this out and at least slow down the bleeding for another week? This can't be a repeat of last week. Can you imagine if that happened? What do you think we're going to see?
Honestly, I'm nervous. You had mentioned something earlier about even the units that we planned on being good. I'm watching Foskey. When plays start on defense, I watch Foskey, and there's nothing there. And then I'm watching some other shows, and they're talking about, coaching, and, it doesn't look like he's prepared for success. So, no, I don't know where the energy is going to come from. Can we get a sack fumble, pick it up, and convert it? And can we actually make plays? Because if we don't make plays, if we don't stop them, there's no – like, in the last minute of the game, the players actually played like they wanted to have a fight, right?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to play out like they want to go fight these guys and whoop them? And that's why I mentioned Mass earlier. It's like, it's a little cerebral. And I've been to millions of Masses in my life, right? You don't want to go out there wanting to kick someone's butt. And maybe that some of that time has changed with this new area of kids that we're playing with when you and I were much younger.
Yeah.
But are we going to go out there ready to rip someone's head off? One thing, I wrote this down too. Last week watching the game, going to halftime, I'm like, man, and I bet the players are going to miss Brian Kelly yelling at them. Because you and I have watched plenty of those icon videos, and we see Kelly in the halftime ripping the players, telling them this and that and the other. We're going to go kick their ass for 4 quarters,
Mm-hmm.
I think the question is, are we going to come out with real energy or not? Like, I remember being a kid and watching when we busted out the green jerseys for Boston College for no reason. And It was kind of a new downfall. I hope that we don't see the same thing again. If Notre Dame loses, it's just going to raise more flags. Earlier in the call, you guys all just win, just get it done. I can't imagine. I'm thinking, wow, Notre Dame should be winning like 42-7. It's Cal. Like, I watch them all the time being out here in Pac-12 country.
42
I'm nervous across the board. Nothing we've done right now has shown that any layer of our offense or defense can consistently produce. That's
very fair. Nope, you're right. No, everything's on the table. There are no gimmies. Everything's on the table. Man, I appreciate the call. I've thought about the mask thing too. Just as far as like the tranquility of that, and how do you transition from the tranquility of Mass at the Notre Dame Basilica to I'm going to knock somebody's head off in an hour or two? I understand that question. And when the results aren't what you want, it's fair to ask those questions. But thanks for the call, my friend. Really good. Call again, please.
Oh, for sure, John. I'd love to be your Arizona rep out here.
I like that.
I love everything that you do.
I need somebody out there. I need somebody out that way. I don't have a rep out there. You could be it. Have a good one, man. Enjoy the Arizona sunshine.
I will do. Love it. Love your show, John. Thanks much. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Nice guy. Good caller. Jeez, I got some good folks in here. You guys are a good group. Like I said, I've thought about the mask thing, guys. I don't know whether that's legit or not, that it calms you down because you have to sit there in mask and be all like still and quiet and everything and not like bashing your head against the wall, getting all pumped up. I don't know. That just might be an individual thing. I think what a lot of that has to do is how you process it in your mind. Being able to sit there in mass, but also know you're going to turn into an animal after communion. You know what I mean? That kind of deal. Super chat, Mikey Poles, $5. Worst case scenario this week is a mirror image of last week. Disastrous loss to Cal. Does somebody get fired? Starters get benched? What happens? I don't know, and I don't want to find out, Mikey. Thanks for the $5, by the way. I've been thinking of this. I agree. The worst case scenario looks just like last week. Does somebody get fired? I don't know. At a minimum, you will need to see depth chart changes. I just don't think you can't if you do this. And life didn't get any easier, folks. You don't win this one. And then you got North Carolina and BYU. Do you feel any better playing them if you can't beat Marshall and Cal? Now you're in uh-oh. You're in uh-oh land, folks. Does somebody get fired? I'm going to say this. I would be shocked if anybody got fired in season on Notre Dame staff, no matter what. If they don't win a game and we're going into October, I'd be surprised. I don't know why. I just feel that way. Cody, $5 holler. ND is one of the most overranked program. Academics don't mean you're good at sports. Zach would be your best coach too. Cody, I really appreciate the $5. ND is one of the most overranked programs. This year, yes. Overall, historically, no. This year, yes. Academics don't mean you're good at sports. Obviously, we all know that. The problem is you have to be good at academics to have a chance to get into Notre Dame to play sports. Zach Smith would be your best coach. He might be a really good coach, but he's kind of a dick of a person and a guy. He just comes off as one of those cocky coach type guys, like just who thinks he's the shit. His vibe rubs me the wrong way and his personal life's dirty, and I don't need it in Notre Dame, quite frankly. I got enough problems at Notre Dame without worrying about Zach Smith's mistress. Okay? Times are tough, folks. Things are not going good in Notre Dame land. Cody, thanks for the $5, though. You got my blood pressure raised. I hope that's worth the $5 to you. Oh, my God. Yeah, we ain't come to play school. Steven, that's damn right. I liked it. With the Ohio State quarterback tweeted, we ain't come to Ohio State to play no school. And then he finished it up with classes are pointless. Then I ripped him and Ohio State for all that. Then, to the guy's credit, he comes back later, back to Ohio State and completes his degree. That's full circle, and I'm going to give him credit on it. He came back and got that degree. Good job on him. We ain't come to play no school. He won games, though. Hey, I can't argue that. That's what a lot of this comes down to. Swarbrick should be fired now. I mean, it ain't going to happen. What do you mean? Swarbrick's he's like going to ride out on the retirement high horse hog. Like, Swarbrick's time's about out. Like, the biggest last couple things he was going to do for the football program were hiring Brian Kelly's successor. Hiring Kelly's successor, and then figuring out, are you going to stay independent? Are you going to join the Big Ten? All that stuff. Like, Jack's doing that, and then he rides off in the sunset. And a lot of people, Jack's done a really good job with all the other sports. I will give him credit for that. He's got things rolling in a lot of other areas. Just isn't the one area anybody cares about. Good at everything else, except for the one that people care about. Your university's good in every other sport, except for the one thing that made the university popular. Good at everything else. They're good at everything else at Notre Dame, except the one thing that made the university what it is and has people interested and people caring about it. Otherwise, it'd be a tiny private Catholic nothing school by a lake in the middle of Indiana, nowhere, USA. It drives me crazy how Notre Dame isn't good at the only thing that made Notre Dame a thing at all. Will Mr. Angeli play? Yeah, because Pine will probably get tombstone pile drived in the first quarter. So, yeah, I actually do expect Angeli to play because Cal's defense is going to suplex Drew Pine 20 times in the first quarter. Said it before, say it again. I know Angeli has been playing with the scout team. All right? Angeli was playing the Stroud role. Angeli has not been like practicing with the Notre Dame end. He's been running the other team's plays. You ever watch Rudy? Oh, you're going to be running the opposition's plays. We don't care if you get the hell beat out of you. That kind of thing. All right? I swear to God, man. I'm going to have a stroke on the air this year. I'm going to have a stroke. Best college football show on YouTube. Y'all ND fans are lucky. Trevor, I appreciate that. The other thing, Trevor, is you're mysterious. You got your name here with a blank circle as your logo. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by this mystery dark circle. Oh my God, I'm struggling, you guys. Jimmy Hoffa, you're the other one. Shouldn't they be finding you in a barrel in Lake Mead? What are you doing, Jimmy? I appreciate you being here, though, Jimmy. You're here almost every day, and I'll never forget it because the name's Jimmy Hoffa, so I can't forget it. Ooh-wee. We got ourselves a $10 super chat, Jacob Saylor. I thank you very much for that. I really hope to be surprised. 2.5 weeks ago, we believed in this team. I want to believe they could turn around by the end of the year and can celebrate a good season. And with the rocky start, Jacob, you know what, man? I need some of that positivity sometimes, Jacob. I really appreciate that. You need it. You need a balance of that. Listen, if this team ended up going 8-4 right now, 8-4, you would end up saying that that's salvaging a lot. Okay. 8-4 would be a miracle, I think. From where we're at, starting at now at 0-2, 8-4 would be an absolute miracle. Like, I wouldn't even be able to believe that. That would be an incredible turnaround that I would love. And so, yeah, they could get better and all that. The issue is, it just shouldn't have to come to this. You shouldn't have to get this low to start getting it back in the direction it needs to go. And that's upsetting people. And so if they turned it around and ended up 8-4 or something, then I can live with that. Now you are just looking for improvement week to week. We're at a level where that's all you can do is just look for little things to be able to grasp onto and grow on as foundational pieces. That's all you have because we're starting in a really rough spot this week. Thank you for the super chat and a very great comment. Oh, boy. Jacob Brown, 1999. I appreciate that. Man, everybody, man, you guys, what did you get your paychecks? Appreciate this. John, I've got the tickets. Now I need you to give me a reason to make my annual pilgrimage from Alabama this weekend. Jacob, I will give you that pitch. I'll give you that pitch, Jacob. Here's the pitch. And I'm going this weekend too. Trust me, it ain't going to be the most excited I ever have been driving to South Bend. Trust me. However, here's what I'm going to tell you. Go to this game. And the reason, if it isn't the quality of football product on the field, go because being on Notre Dame's campus is good for your soul. If you're a Notre Dame person at heart and it's just in you and your family and it's who you are and you believe in the mission and all of it, like if you're that Irish Catholic Notre Dame family person, go to campus. When I go, it's like a palate cleanser for my soul. There's a comfort that comes over me. I just feel like I'm home. I feel like things are going to be okay in my life, not football. Obviously, things are not okay in football. I'm talking about in my stupid life. That place still has a way to make you feel like that way. So it recenters me. I'm in Chicago, so it's easy for me to get there. Sometimes in life, when I've had a lot of hard stuff going on or life hits you bad, you have these challenges or uncertainty or bad stuff happens. Sometimes I will just drive to South Bend for the day with no plans, nothing going on, no game, no crowds, no nothing. Just to go and be there in peace and quiet. Sit at the grotto, walk around, center myself. It'll be good for you. And then the team will lose and then you'll be mad and it'll ruin it. No, I'm just kidding. But make the pilgrimage. It's good for your soul to be at Notre Dame, especially if you really understand it and feel it the way that I do. And I think you must if you're willing to go from Alabama to come for the game. Appreciate the super chat, Jacob, and enjoy the ball game. I'll be there too. Look for me. Tommy Bongers, $4.99. You guys will be crying for Brian Kelly back in 3 years with that bum Freeman leading. Here's the deal. I don't care if Marcus Freeman never wins a single football game at Notre Dame. I'm done with Brian Kelly. I'm glad he's gone. I don't care if he wins at LSU. I don't give a shit. I was done with his shit, okay? Done with his shit. So I don't care if he wins 90 Super Bowls in Louisiana. I'm glad he's gone. His personality sucks. Find a way to win with somebody who isn't a dick to everybody else and rubs everybody the wrong way. All right? So I don't care if Freeman never wins a game. I don't want Kelly back. Find me somebody else. You can find me a lot of other people to beat the teams you should beat and then lose the good teams you play. That was Kelly's claim to fame at Notre Dame. I could go find a bunch of guys to do that if Freeman can't or whatever. No way. Nathan, you're saying I missed a $10 super chat? That ain't right. I'm going back up to find it. You can't be missing super chats. That's my bad. That's unacceptable. I should bench myself. I'm going back to find it. That ain't right. I can't not mention somebody who donated money. That's wrong. So no, I do not want Brian Kelly back. Why would I want Brian Kelly back? To get us back to going to not winning the biggest games we play? Like, there's a big gulf here. There's a big gap between, is this it? Here's a $9.99. Is that the one I missed? I hope. I just feel bad. I never want to miss anybody who donated money, but this stuff goes by fast. I feel bad. Tyler, $9.99. I appreciate you. He's a realist, not a hater. Cuts through the crap. Develop and recruited multiple all-pro receivers. I can see an analyst role with his ties to Freeman and Laurinaitis. Also close with Brady Quinn. This is really good information, you guys. All I'm saying is, if that's a decision that's made, and we know Zach Smith does have kind of a iffy history, we just need to make sure that it doesn't come to Notre Dame, and you just can't start having that off the field stuff, and especially some of the things he was involved in specifically, or rumored to be involved in, will not play well at Notre Dame at all. So I understand all of those connections with Freeman and Smith and those guys. But I can't bring those issues in here. We already have enough issues. I can't bring off the field that kind of drama in. So that would be my only thing. I'm hoping that's the super chat I missed. I don't want to miss another one. $502. We're talking to you. Hello. That person called me from outer space and their phone line's messed up. Oh, let's see. Urban Meyer comes in. Notre Dame will have their best recruiting classes. I just think the Urban Meyer thing sailed, you guys. I just think it's sailed, man. The years go by and then you just learn more about them. And I'm not This isn't 10 years ago, Urban Meyer is what I'm saying. This isn't bringing the idea of him doing this 10 years ago. There isn't that same vibe. There's just not. So I don't know. Oh boy. 708. Things are not going great. You're on the line.
Hey, good morning, John.
What's going on today?
Not much. I understand we're all still upset about Marshall, but it's Cal week, so we need to kind of put that in the back burner and move on.
We really have no other option, do we? And we really have no other option, do we?
Yeah,
And
but maybe that's just my mentality as a former athlete, but
I was going to say the players have to think that way. Like, we can sit here and cry and complain and bitch like I do. Those players have no choice but to move on.
But I mean, all this talk about Urban Meyer and firing Freeman and Tyler's done. Just stop, man. It's ridiculous. First of all, it was his non-throwing shoulder, and so, in my opinion, just put a cast on and get back out there, son. I mean, I kid. I understand the severity of it. I'm a certified personal trainer, so I kind of understand the severity of the situation. But it's his non-throwing arm, so he'll be back next year, and I think he'll be back even better and stronger. So, that's the thing, is people need to stop this whole, he's done forever and he's no good and all this stuff. You don't know that. We haven't seen enough. And like you keep saying, with the offensive line that doesn't block, how are we ever going to know?
How would you
could put Peyton Manning behind our offensive line, and he would be running for his life. And we all know he can't run the ball.
Yeah, but the issue with this is everything you're saying is totally true. So then the question becomes, practically, how do you get in a room and try and structure an offense for Pine to succeed in this week without, given all those issues we've talked about? What would be your plan? How would you set Pine up to succeed differently than you were running it with Buckner when it wasn't working? What would you do to set this up different this week to get a win that we desperately need?
Well, you'd kind of have to do it like we did with Book and have him roll out. And
I think so too. You got to move that pocket. You got to move that pocket, not only just for that, but because it protects the line too.
I mean,
yeah. Yep.
Right. Do a lot more play actions, do some more screens. For God's sake, do some screens, because these defenses are lining up and pinning their ears back. I think I've said this on your show a few times now. I know me and my dad were talking yesterday, and these defenses are lining up and pinning their ears back and coming after us. Use that aggression against them. Do some screens. Throw it in the middle of the field. It's wide open. Throw it some slants, something down their throat until they can stop it, or until they do stop it, and then do something else. But roll it out. Use his athleticism. I understand he's a small guy. As much as I don't like him, because I don't think he can't really throw past 10 yards. But, I think working Angeli a little bit to get him used to the playbook. And then, kind of like we did last year with Tyler, or like we did with Golston back in the day with Reese, with quarterback. But with Pine, you got to use his athleticism. You got to do things differently than what we have been doing, and if it works, don't just abandon it the rest of the game. Come back to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. That's all you can do. I think extending plays to kind of move that pocket, get him on the move, run past it. You're going to have to try something, because trying to be a power run team isn't going to work, and trying to throw it all over isn't going to work. It ain't going to work. It's just not going to work.
Yeah. Well, and then defensively, like Marcus said in his press conference, we got to force takeaways. And you could see that all of the coaches, even Marcus, were upset. Like, they know the severity of what's going on. You could tell Marcus was just visibly upset, and that he doesn't like what's going on either, as much as we don't, which is a great thing, in my opinion, because compared to his predecessor, who would get cocky and have a little Napoleon complex, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But so all these people who think Marcus isn't good or all this stuff, maybe watch his press conferences so you can watch his demeanor and watch the way he goes about things. You can tell that he's upset and that he really had to do something this week that he probably didn't want to do, that he thought he didn't have to do right now, and get after people.
Yep.
So
it's challenging, and
I think
Marcus needs to exhibit that leadership and that use that personality now more than ever to navigate this. It's rocky seas right now. He needs to navigate this somehow, some way.
But I think that's what you got to do this week. Hopefully they do, and hopefully we come out with the victory. I mean, I don't see anywhere but up from here. So,
well, I hope so. I hope so. But you got to get this one. Life doesn't get any easier against North Carolina and BYU. You got to get one when you could get it.
Well, you talk about North Carolina, their defense is nowhere to be found. So they're giving up 60 points a game right now. So, I mean, I think we.
Yeah, but those are to teams. But those are to teams that can move the ball.
That's true.
Like, I don't want to overstate it, but those. I mean, yeah, they're giving up a lot against teams that know how to play offense.
That's true.
Oh my God. So do you think we find a way at home? It's going to be ugly no matter what, but do you think we at least find a way to stabilize things this week? Get this first win.
Yeah, I think we can. I really think we can. I really think last Saturday opened some eyes and showed that, we were probably way too high on ourselves, reading our press clippings and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now they got to get to work. Now they got to put up or shut up. So,
yep. It's a very big week. You're going to learn a lot about Notre Dame's leadership, both in the coaching staff ranks, and I'm very interested to see the players as well. Those leaders, you need to say, this has gone far enough. It's not happening again. This is a big measuring stick for that leadership of the entire operation this week. And I admit I'm a little anxious to see how it's going to go.
Yeah, I think we'll be surprised. I really do. I think, like I said the other day, I think they'll come out with that Drew Tranquil mentality where these next few teams, they need to be afraid, because, maybe we were too blind or had some rose-colored glasses on when Kelly was doing all this winning, and didn't really evaluate here as fans and stuff how bad things really were in the program until now. You don't really see how bad things are until you lose games, or until you actually play.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe us as fans need to kind of take a step back and say, hey, Kelly wasn't as good as we all thought he was. Even though he did all this winning, maybe he wasn't as good as we thought he was.
Well, there's no doubt that he left some depth issues that are now our problem. I mean, the wide receiver situation ultimately comes down to Kelly. The quarterback, lack of having one or developing one, comes down to Kelly. It's tough. There's a lot of overlap there.
Right. I mean, from what I've heard, Kelly would rather go golfing than go recruiting. And then Dell was a great guy, but he was a terrible recruiter.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. And developer as well. And the other thing is, those guys ended up not liking Dell. You ended up with personality issues in that position group room too, with guys leaving, not liking the vibe. So I appreciate the call, my friend. We're going to see if we can get it right this week. I don't care what it looks like. I'm not asking for style points. Get a win.
Yep. Go Irish.
Go Irish. Take care. Get those kids wherever they have to go safe, my friend. We got a couple more super chats. You guys are coming in hot late with the super chats. $4.99 Tyler again. Thanks, Tyler. Big day from you. Big morning from you. Texas is willing to forgive Sark for his off-the-field issues. Zach's far removed from the issues and a proven winner. Yeah, that may be true. I don't know if Notre Dame would look at that vetting process differently than Texas through a different lens or standard. I don't know that. But I'm open to him as a coach. It's the personality stuff just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. More super chats. I'm trying to keep up. Tommy Bongers again. Brian Kelly left you guys. Tommy Bongers. Brian Kelly left you guys 3 great quarterbacks, and you can't even beat Marshall. Freeman ain't it. Brian Kelly left you guys 3 great quarterbacks. Is your name Tommy Bongers because you're ripping bongers for breakfast? Where are these 3 great quarterbacks you speak of? Where are they? Great. Tommy, I appreciate the $4.99, but you must be ripping bong hits. 3 great quarterbacks. Where's the great? What is proven they're great? Where? Thanks for the $4.99, though. I could buy myself 1 blood pressure pill or something for the $4.99. Oh, man. We hit these before. Let's go back to the chat. I had those ones I was saving. Burt Reynolds, good to see you. And you know you're doing something right with your radio program when Burt Reynolds comes from the grave to join your show. You know you got something cooking online when Burt Reynolds joins you and Jimmy Hoffa. And I just happen to be named John Kennedy. So we got a lot of old dead people coming back to yell about the always Irish. Oh, boy. Here we go. It's getting to be too early for this. USC, who gives an F about his personality if he can't F and win? Kelly all day. I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, you have a really good point. Like, I'm not going to get triggered by this USC logo. I don't know if you're a USC guy or what. But, yeah. I mean, ultimately, you're right. I happen to like Freeman's delivery and personality and demeanor and swag and everything, and all of Marcus Freeman's, his muscles and the way he looks in the ESQ bamboo shirts and all that. I love all that. I love the polish. I love all of it. But if you can't win, it doesn't matter. USC Trojans, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. What do you want me to argue the other side of it? That you can never win a game, but as long as I like the way you look and talk, that's fine. I ain't making that argument. So you're absolutely right. All that stuff does only get you so far, and then you got to win at some point. You got to win. Super chat here. $2 super chat from RJ. The team is soft. Unfortunately, RJ, it seems like you're right. And here's the problem. It's okay, the team is soft. And then it's like, well, John, we have a 2-game body of work, so let's really look at this, right? The team is soft. Well, the first half against Ohio State, nobody was going to say the team is soft. Would you? You wouldn't. You wouldn't. Halftime of Ohio State, you were feeling good. Admit it, Notre Dame fans. You were sitting there going, we're hanging in this game better than I thought, better than I was used to expecting with Swamp Thing in charge. And we're hanging in there. So I think Notre Dame people felt pretty good going through that half. Then you got worn down, beat up, ran over later in the game. Then you start to worry about, why did we get worn down? Well, then I could say, well, the offense couldn't do anything. The defense was out there all day. We got worn down, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. So that happens. Ooh, this is a good comment that I want to talk about too. But then you're talking about being soft, and it's like, well, you saw some evidence of being tough enough against Ohio State and some evidence of being soft against Ohio State late. But what happened to you against Marshall? it throws it completely out the window. Completely out the window. You were soft on both sides of the ball all day against Marshall. And that is horrifying. It's horrifying. It's horrifying to think of the way we were dominated physically by Marshall. It's embarrassing. And that is where you start getting down the path to where a guy like me says, where's your pride in playing for Notre Dame? Like, that's how far down that road we had to go, to where it's like, where is your pride playing in Notre Dame Stadium with that gold helmet on, and you're letting Marshall push you around? Something ain't right, and I want to know what it is. Stresses me out, folks. It just stresses me out. Mr. McDaniel. I like his demeanor until he sounded like a lost puppy at the press conference the other day. I'm assuming you're referring to the venerable Mr. Marcus Freeman. Here's the deal. I actually agree with you on this. I had this conversation with my father last night, and he called me and said, your boy looks bad. And I go, well, what do you mean? And my dad goes, you see that press conference? Marcus is down. He goes, you see how he's talking? Do you hear his voice? He looks like somebody stole his puppy, punched his grandma in the face. And he does. Freeman seems really down. I need that guy to pull it together. I did actually have this on my notes. Freeman, he seems very, very down. And I almost need him to maybe fake being a little bit more upbeat, because when I saw the presser yesterday, he was really, really down. Now, at the same time, folks, who's going to tell me it's not okay to go in the press conference and seem like somebody ran over your puppy when that's essentially what happened? It's basically what happened. His young quarterback got ran over by a truck after 2 games, and now we're starting from scratch. And even what we had wasn't that good. So no wonder Freeman seems like somebody stole his puppy. That's basically what happened. But I need that guy to pull it together, boy. I need you to pull it together this week. But I'm going to finish with this. This is a week of pride. That is all Notre Dame has to play for. Your big season goals are screwed. You are playing for pride. That is all Notre Dame has this week. You're at home. You're playing another inferior opponent. They're probably saying that about us, that it's an inferior opponent. You just need to find a way to win. Your leadership needs to step up. The players need to take over. They all need to decide this is not how it's going to go down. We are going to win this game. Buy us one more week to try and settle in and right the ship. All right? All right. I have some things I need to go do. Kent, maybe next time. We ran the 2 hours. Give me a call Friday, Kent. Thank you to everybody for being here. There is no Always Irish show without you guys. There is no show without you. And I really appreciate all of the chats. You guys are so generous with the super chats. I really, really appreciate you. It astounds me how generous you guys are. So I really appreciate you. There's no show without it. Everybody have a good day, and go Irish.